College reunion turns me into a serial killer. My name is Evan, or at least it was. I don't know who the hell I am anymore. Back in July of 2022, I got an invitation from my old friend Mason. We'd known each other since high school. Not best friends, but close enough to trade stupid jokes and get wasted together in our college years. Life had split us apart after graduation, as it does. He moved 2 states away, married some girl named Claire, and we barely texted except for birthdays. Then, out of nowhere, Mason hits me up on Facebook, said he was throwing a little reunion at this lake house his father-in-law owned. Remote, old, vintage, as he put it. No cell service, no internet, just booze, food, fishing, and catching up like the old days. At first I hesitated. My girlfriend Rachel didn't know Mason, and we weren't exactly in a good place at the time. Things had been off. Late nights at work, missed dates, her phone always face down. But I figured maybe a weekend apart would do us some good. So I told Mason I was in. He was ecstatic, sent me the address and details, said it'd be me, him, his wife Claire, their friend Tyler, and a couple others from our college group. It'll be like a reset, he wrote, the kind of weekend we used to live for. I packed a bag, kissed Rachel goodbye, she barely looked up from her phone, and made the 5-hour drive upstate. If only I'd turned the car around. The place was nothing like Mason described. I pulled up to this creaking, ancient, 2-story house surrounded by dead trees and fog so thick it felt like the air itself didn't want to be there. The paint was peeling, windows dark, a single porch light flickered like it was too tired to stay alive. I remember sitting in my car for a good 5 minutes, engine running, debating if I should text Mason and bail. But then he appeared on the porch, waving like an idiot, holding a beer. I stepped out, plastered on a grin, and called, "Dude, this place looks like a murder documentary waiting to happen." He laughed. "That's the point, man. We're off grid. No bullshit, no drama. Just us. Come on." Against every instinct, I went in. Inside was worse. The air smelled of mildew and rot, masked by decades of cigarette smoke. The furniture sagged like it carried the weight of 100 dead secrets. There were old photographs on the walls, none of them Mason or Claire. Strangers staring out with sunken eyes. The others were already there. Tyler, a mutual friend from college who I'd always thought was kind of a tool, greeted me with a backslapping hug. Claire Mason's wife was in the kitchen, pretty in a brittle, fake way. Too thin, eyes rimmed with old mascara. There were 2 other guys I didn't recognize. Mason introduced them as Kyle and Derek. Both of them had that sketchy vibe, like the kind of dudes you'd cross the street to avoid. The night started off decent. Beers, a bonfire out back, telling old stories about campus mischief. The sun went down. The fog thickened. That's when shit started getting off. After a few hours of drinking, Mason suggested we play a game. Old school, he grinned. Like we used to, truth or dare. No chickening out. Everyone groaned, but the liquor had us loose enough to agree. The dares started stupid. Tyler had to jump into the freezing lake. Claire had to kiss Kyle. I chugged a bottle of some foul-tasting whiskey that made my stomach churn. But then it got cruel. They dared Derek to slap Tyler as hard as he could. He did. Left a handprint. They dared Claire to whisper her darkest secret. She hesitated, looked at Mason like she was begging for mercy. "Do it," he growled. She whispered something so low no one else heard, but whatever it was made Mason's face turn to stone. I should have left then. I should have grabbed my keys and ran. But I stayed. Then it was my turn. "Truth or dare, Evan?" Mason asked, eyes gleaming. I picked truth. He leaned in, smirking. "Are you sleeping with Rachel's sister?" The whole room went dead silent. I blinked. "What the fuck are you talking about?" He grinned wider. "Come on, man. You can tell us. We're family here." I hadn't even spoken to Rachel's sister in months. I stammered, trying to deny it, and Mason cut me off. "Bullshit. I saw the texts, the photos. She told me everything." My stomach dropped him to the floor. You're lying. He tossed a phone onto the table. It was Rachel's phone. I snatched it up, unlocking it out of reflex. And there it was. Messages, photos, videos. Not with her sister. With Mason. My girlfriend, the woman I'd been with for 6 years, cheating with my so-called friend. For months. The dates, the lies, the late nights, working, all of it. I couldn't breathe. The room tilted. Mason just sat there smug. Claire looked away, tears in her eyes. Why? I croaked. He shrugged. Because I could. Because you always had the good shit. The better grades, the better job, the better girl. I wanted something of yours for once. I lunged at him. The others pulled me back, laughing like it was some joke, like it was entertainment. You think this is over? Mason spat. We're just getting started. I realized then, this wasn't a reunion. It was a goddamn trap. I don't remember much of what happened after they dragged me back from Mason. My mind was splitting at the seams, 1,000 thoughts ripping through my head at once. Betrayal, humiliation, rage, heartbreak. They left me in that old rotting living room while they went back to drinking like nothing had happened. Every now and then I'd hear laughter or a chair scrape against the floor, but I didn't move. Couldn't. I thought about Rachel, about the nights I stayed up worrying when she wasn't home, believing her lies about staying late or visiting her mom. I remembered the weekend she said she was going to a spa with her sister, now knowing she was probably in Mason's bed. I stared down at my trembling hands, my knuckles raw from punching the floor. There was a picture on the wall across from me. A little girl, maybe 6, holding a stuffed rabbit. Someone had scratched her eyes out with a knife. That was when Tyler walked in, sat down across from me, beer in hand, smirking. You know, he said, slurring a little, I always thought you were too good for us. The golden boy, Mr. Perfect. But you're just like the rest of us now, aren't you? I didn't answer. He chuckled, leaned in. Mason's not done. None of us are. You thought this was a reunion? Nah, man. This is a cleansing, a reckoning. I finally looked up at him. What the fuck are you talking about? He took a long pull from his bottle, then grinned. You'll see. I don't know what time it was when Mason came back for me. The house was pitch black, the only light coming from a single flashlight in his hand. He told me to get up. When I refused, he grabbed me by the collar and yanked me to my feet. You want to play the victim, Evan? Fine, but you're gonna see the whole picture before you leave. He dragged me through the narrow hallway, past those same dead-eyed family portraits, and down a staircase I hadn't noticed before. The basement was cold. The air was thick, metallic, the kind of place where bad things happened. There were chains bolted to the wall, rusted tools, a table stained dark with what I told myself was old paint. And in the far corner, slumped against the wall, was a body. A girl, young, maybe 19. Her face was bruised, lips split, hair matted with blood. Her wrists were bound. She was alive, barely. I stumbled back. What the who is that? Mason grinned. Your new friend. Her name's Danny. Runaway. Nobody's looking for her. She's been down here a week. I couldn't speak. You think you're better than us? He hissed. You don't know what it's like to really own something. To take it. To break it. You will. I turned to run, but Kyle and Derek were blocking the stairs. Not yet, Kyle said, grinning. They forced me down into a chair, zip-tied my hands. You've got a choice, Evan, Mason said, crouching in front of me. Either you're one of us, or you leave here in pieces. They left me tied up all night. The basement stank of piss and sweat. I could hear Danny's weak breathing, a shallow rasp in the darkness. Sometime around dawn, she spoke. Help me, a whisper, barely audible. I told her I would. Swore to God I'd get us both out. She started crying. Mumbled something about how they took her phone, how she'd been hitchhiking when Mason's car pulled up, how he promised her a ride, then locked her in here. I asked how many others there'd been. She didn't answer. The house upstairs creaked. Footsteps. Laughter. They were awake. I had to move. I started sawing the zip ties against the sharp edge of a broken tile on the floor. Took forever. My wrist bled. But I didn't stop. When I finally got one hand free, I crawled to Danny, working at her restraints. That's when the door creaked open. Mason stood there, silhouetted against the light. "Told you," he said. "Nowhere to run." He stepped aside, and behind him was Rachel. She looked different. Not scared, not angry, smiling. "Hey, babe," she said like this was a Sunday brunch. "Miss me?" My stomach flipped. What are you doing here?" She walked down the steps, heels clicking on the old wood. "I came for the finale." I couldn't process it. "You knew? About Danny? About this place? You're part of this?" Mason laughed. "She didn't just know, man. This was her idea." Rachel knelt beside me, ran a hand down my bloodied cheek. "You never noticed, did you? Too busy being the good guy, the hero. Guess what, Evan? Nobody wants a hero. We want real men. Men like Mason, men who take what they want." I snapped, threw myself at Mason, got one good hit before the others swarmed me. Fists, boots, knees. I don't remember the pain, just the sound of Danny screaming. I blacked out. When I came to, the basement was empty. A storm was raging outside, windows rattling. I don't know how long I was out, but the zip ties were gone. Blood everywhere, a trail leading out the door. I found Danny huddled near the stairs, face swollen, barely conscious. I carried her. Every step hurt. Broken ribs, maybe. Splitting headache. Upstairs was trashed. Blood on the floor, a body Tyler, face down in a pool of red. A knife in his back. Good. I limped us both outside into the storm. The others were nowhere to be seen. I got us to my car, engine miraculously still there. Got Danny in the passenger seat, and I drove. Didn't look back. The police didn't believe me at first. Old money in that town. Mason's family, Claire's father. They buried everything. Called me a junkie, a liar. Danny disappeared from the hospital 2 days later. No records, no witnesses. I lost everything. My job, my apartment. No one would return my calls. Rachel vanished. The house was condemned and burned down. But I remember every face, every laugh. And one day, I'll find them. I'll make them feel every ounce of what they did. This isn't a ghost story. It's a promise. It's been 7 months since that night. I wake up in motels now. Ratty places with flickering lights and carpets that stink of stale smoke and loneliness. I haven't held a steady job since I left that house. Every interview ends the same way: someone makes a call, a background check pings, and the offer vanishes. My credit's shot. My name's poison. I know who's behind it. Mason, Claire, their families. Rich people can erase you if they feel like it. And when you've seen what I have, it's a guarantee. Danny's gone. No trace. I still check hospitals, missing persons boards. Nothing. My only companion is a little battered notebook, pages filled with names, addresses, dates, the ones who were there, the ones who helped them, the ones who laughed while my life burned. I promised myself I'd find them, and one by one I'd break them. The first one I found was Kyle. I tracked him to a cheap apartment in a nowhere town 3 hours south. Rumor was he'd skipped town after something bad went down. I staked out his building for 3 nights. Watched him stumble home drunk, saw him hit his girlfriend on the balcony one night. I waited. On the 4th night, I followed him, cornered him in the parking lot behind a dive bar. He barely recognized me at first. "Evan? Shit, man. Look, it wasn't me. Mason made me." I didn't let him finish. I don't remember much, just flashes, blood on my hands, his teeth on the ground, the way his eyes rolled back when I wrapped the belt around his throat. When it was over, I left him there. No regrets. He was the first mark in my notebook, a clean line through his name. 1 down. After Kyle, the nightmares got worse. I'd wake up sweating, screaming Danny's name. I kept seeing that basement, Rachel's smirk, Mason's grin. Sometimes I'd catch glimpses of Danny in crowds, a flash of hair, a sob in an alley. Once, I swear to God, I saw her reflection in a store window, whispering something I couldn't hear. I stopped sleeping, started drinking, but I couldn't stop hunting. All right, buckle up. We're going in. This is going to be heavy, ugly, sad, and violent. You asked for long, emotionally intense, anger-inducing storytelling, and I'm delivering. Claire was always the one I hated most. Not Mason, he was a monster, sure, but you expect monsters to do monstrous things. Claire, she pretended, acted like the sweet one, the gentle one, always the first to wipe away a tear or offer a hug while whispering poison into your ear. I found her working at some upscale law firm downtown, the kind of place with marble floors and glass walls and fake smiles. I spent weeks watching her, following her car, learning her routines. I learned she visited her father's grave every Sunday morning, alone. It felt poetic. That Sunday, I was waiting in the cemetery before dawn, rain coming down in a slow, cold mist. I wore gloves, brought a hammer, not subtle, but fitting. When she knelt by the headstone, I stepped out from behind a crypt. She froze when she saw me. "Evan," her voice cracked. I didn't answer, just watched as recognition turned to terror. Wait, please. I never wanted it to go that far. Mason, he made me. Same bullshit excuse as Kyle. I told her to shut up. Told her I remembered everything she said that night. Every cruel little word. The way she laughed when they held Danny down. She tried to run. I caught her halfway down the path and brought the hammer down across her knee. She screamed so loud it echoed across the empty graveyard. I didn't stop. By the time I was done, there was nothing left of that sweet, pretty little liar. I left her in the mud. Didn't even bother hiding the body. Two down. After Claire, it got worse. I started seeing Danny everywhere. Not just in crowds now, but in mirrors. In the back seat of my car. In motel rooms when the lights flickered. She never spoke, just stared, pale, hollow-eyed. Sometimes her lips would move like she was saying thank you. Other times she just wept. I didn't know if she was real, if she died and come back to haunt me, or if my mind was finally cracking under the weight of all this blood. Oh, didn't matter. I wasn't stopping. Derek was harder. He disappeared after the house burned down, changed his name, skipped state. Took me months to find him, working under the table at a scrapyard outside Chicago. I waited until closing. Found him sitting behind the office, drinking cheap beer, watching the sun go down. He looked old, worn out, like guilt had eaten away at him. I almost pitied him. Almost. When he saw me, he didn't run, didn't beg, just sighed. "I figured you'd come, man." I asked where Mason was. He shook his head. "Gone. Off-grid. Last I heard, Mexico or Costa Rica. Nobody knows for sure. Rachel's with him." I didn't say anything. He finished his beer, tossed the can. "You gonna do it quick?" I thought about it. Then I remembered Danny, remembered her swollen face, her broken voice. I made it slow. After Derek, I found a letter taped to the windshield of my car. No one had seen who left it. Inside was a single sentence. "I'm waiting for you. You won't win." Signed with an R. Rachel. It wasn't over. I felt the walls closing in, the cops sniffing around, news stories about missing people, a possible serial killer, grainy security cam photos of me at gas stations. Didn't matter. I was too far gone to care. I sold everything I had left, traded my beat-up car for a rusted pickup, packed only what I needed: cash, weapons, my notebook. I made calls, called in favors from the kind of people you don't find in phone books. Learned Mason and Rachel were holed up somewhere in Texas, living under fake names, protected by old family money. I knew it would be a bloodbath. Didn't care. I wanted them to feel it, to know fear, to understand what it was like to be hunted. Oh, I found them in a farmhouse off an old service road, 10 miles from the nearest town. The place looked normal from a distance. White fence, porch swing, fresh paint. But I knew what kind of monsters lived inside. I waited until night, cut the phone lines, slashed their tires, boarded the back door shut. Then I walked right up the front steps and kicked the door in. Rachel screamed. Mason grabbed a shotgun, fired, missed. I tackled him. The fight was brutal, wild, years of rage pouring out. I shattered his jaw with a wrench, drove a knife into his shoulder. He begged, cried, said he was sorry. I told him it wasn't enough. Rachel tried to run, made it halfway to the woods before I caught her. Evan, please. I didn't let her finish. I buried them in the yard, marked the graves with their real names, and I left. Now, I don't know what I am. I sit in diners no one visits, sleep in places nobody stays. The face in the mirror isn't mine anymore. I kept a notebook. It's empty now, all the names crossed out. But Danny still visits. She smiles sometimes. Other nights she cries. I don't know if I'm dead, dreaming, or something worse. But I know this. If you ever get a message from an old friend begging you to come back to some house in the woods for a reunion, don't. I promise you, you won't come back the same. Nyeh.